All right, let's get one thing out of the way here before I see all the comments that say that I hate Cosmonaut. This is a Cosmonaut hate page. No, it's not. First things first, I really love Cosmonaut's videos. He's really influenced the way I look at movies and TV shows. I guess if there's one thing I learned is that he's taught me to hold some movies accountable for some of the dumb shit they do. But honestly, this video, it made me upset because he's spreading a lot of wrong information, and I feel like as a big YouTuber, he has a responsibility to not do that. So I'm just going to be pointing out some of the things that he did that really they're just not right, because that just discredits the entire show.
But to be honest, my enthusiasm for this show has faded away slightly. I wanted Season 7 back before I knew what happened to Ahsoka and Maul and Rex. This season focuses on them, and it's hard to care when you know what happens to everybody in Rebels.
Okay, notice how he acknowledges the fact that he knows that the season focuses on Ahsoka and Rex, because that's originally what Dave Filoni intended to do with these 12 episodes.
One of the best things about Clone Wars was that it focused on characters whose fates were undecided.
You've been on record stating that the Obi-Wan arc where he turns into a bounty hunter is one of your favorite arcs of the entire show. And
Obi-Wan faking his death and becoming an undercover bounty hunter? That's a fun story, and you don't even know that you wanted that.
his fate was already predetermined by Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope.
I remember watching the finale of Season 5 not knowing if Ahsoka would live or die, and that makes the stakes matter, and it makes it more exciting. The finale of this season revolves around our characters trying to survive a clone death trap during Order 66, and it's hard to give a fuck when you know that they're all going to make it out okay.
Okay, he brings this point up several times in this video, and I'm just going to defend it here once. I kind of agree with this point, honestly, but it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. I remember a few days before this whole arc started, I was really nervous to see what Dave Filoni would do with Order 66, with the Clone Wars, because this show is like his baby. Ahsoka is his baby. So it would be interesting to see how he deals with Order 66, because the clones got super attached to their Jedi in this show. While we know that Ahsoka, Rex, and Maul make it out, we don't know how, and the original canon explanation we got was that Ahsoka would fake her death on Mandalore. So when I didn't see that, it honestly scared me because I didn't know what was going to happen. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that just because you know what's going to happen in a finale doesn't make it less enjoyable. An example is that one of my friends had Endgame spoiled for him when Iron Man dies, obviously, and he still came out of the theater feeling very happy because even though he knew it was going to happen, he didn't know how it was going to happen. The only reason I'm making sure my point is understood here is because he brings this up several times in the video, and it's honestly just wrong.
This whole season kind of feels like it just came a little too late for me, but that isn't to say I didn't enjoy any of it. First of all, the animation has leveled up substantially. The Clone Wars jankiness is completely gone. The updated character models and environments look better than anything in previous seasons, and way better than anything in Rebels. Also, the animation seemed to have been improved as well. The fight between Ahsoka and Maul notably looks really good, and I swear it looks like they got some detailed motion capture for once.
Yeah, I 100% agree with this point, because they did get actual motion capture from Ray Park, the man himself.
They move smoother than any fight in the entire series. I don't know a lot about computer animation, so I'm just gonna say, it looks good. I like it. I also really liked how the last 4 episodes in this season were handled, but everybody's saying that. And that's also kind of why I have problems with this season. This season has a clear distinction between the first 2 arcs and the last. The first arc revolves around Rex and a bunch of wacky clones, and I honestly didn't really mind this arc, but it didn't really change my life or anything. It was cool to see the droids being a little more of a threat for once, but I feel like the payoff of Echo being alive kind of falls flat by the end of it. Like, the ultimate goal of this season is just to get us to the end of Revenge of the Sith, so why do I care if Echo found a squad of clones to hang out with for like the 2 weeks before they all turn evil and kill the Jedi?
So the ultimate goal of this season is not to get us to Revenge of the Sith, but to develop Ahsoka's character and Rex's character more. Dave Filoni has said this multiple times. That was the main goal of this season. That's why Rex got an arc with the Bad Batch and Ahsoka got an arc with Trace and Rafa Martez. The main focus of those 2 arcs was Ahsoka and Rex, not the side characters. So if you look at it through that perspective, it makes more sense. Rex gets a lot of emotional moments in the Bad Batch arc, and as a result of being with the Martez sisters, Ahsoka changes the ways she sees the Jedi because of the sisters' run-in with Master Luminara Unduli.
The second arc revolves around Ahsoka as she meets these sisters who get in trouble with a crime boss. And this arc is really fucking boring. We get 4 episodes devoted to this cliche subplot where Ahsoka has to hide the fact that she's a Jedi, or else these random girls won't be her friend. Oh no, I really don't care. I actually hate these episodes more now that I've seen the final arc. Like, this whole middle chunk of the season is so pointless. When people go back and rewatch this season, they are going to skip these episodes. Hell, they might even skip the first ones too.
I also agree with this point that these episodes are very skippable, but you also don't want to skip them because they give Ahsoka and Rex a lot of characterization, which makes the final arc hit different because we've spent so much time with Ahsoka and so much time with Rex. So now seeing them together and their enduring Order 66 makes it that much better. So I wouldn't skip these episodes just because of that reason. But if you don't really care about all that, then by all means go ahead and just skip them.
The problem is that the first 2 arcs just feel like standard, safe, by-the-books Clone Wars episodes. While I have been championing this show for years, I have been on record saying that not all Clone Wars episodes are created equally. Some of them suck really badly, and it's usually okay to skip those episodes. Clone Wars has a lot of filler. It's like 60% filler. Probably more, but I'm being generous right now. And if I had known about the difference in quality between the arcs in this season, I probably would have considered skipping the first 8 episodes altogether. But to be fair, this is mostly because of how good the last arc is. Yes, while I have spent most of this video complaining, I can't deny that the last arc is really rad. The last 4 episodes are everything that I wanted from Clone Wars. If you asked me years ago what my ideal finale for Clone Wars would have been, this would have been pretty close. The first episode in this arc establishes that we are officially in Revenge of the Sith territory. Once I saw that one blue girl on that leaf planet, I was like, oh, okay, so we're doing this shit. Even the title card is different. It's not the fun fanfare that we've had for the rest of the episodes. It's like dark and fucking miserable. From the first 2 seconds of the episode, it immediately feels like this arc is the entire reason for this season's existence. Getting to see Order 66 from Ahsoka's perspective is something I've always wanted. Maul acting like some sort of anti-villain and then having to escape Order 66 on his own without a lightsaber is something I never knew I wanted. He's basically this show's Vegeta in the last few episodes. And no, I will not elaborate on that. Seeing our heroes chase after him and then realizing that he knows what's gonna happen with Order 66 was so much fun.
I personally don't like the fact that Darth Maul already knew what was gonna happen, considering the fact that Sidious never told him his plan. I honestly expected the writers to work around this issue in a manner that made sense, but they just went with the cheap-ass excuse that Maul had a vision. That wasn't enough for me.
It's the only time in this season that I was thrown for a loop. And when you see Ahsoka actually listen to him, it's a good way to show the evolution of her character. She's not a Jedi or a Sith, so she's perfectly fine with listening to his perspective.
Okay, but it's not like listening to her perspective had any lasting consequences. She still kept being the exact same person she was before listening to Maul. And it's not like she listened for a long time either. She listened for 1 second and then proceeded to have a big fight with Darth Maul.
On paper, I should love all of this, and for the most part, I did. These last 4 episodes are amazing, but there are still things that bother me. And I know that's gonna upset some of you. Oh look, Cosmonaut Marcus can't just enjoy something without complaining. Well, yeah, bro, I can't help it. There are a lot of people out there saying this season is amazing and perfect just because the last 4 episodes made up for it. Some of these people are probably the same ones who got mad that I called Ayla Secura that one blue girl a few minutes ago. By now, I hope I've proven that I am capable of loving Star Wars while also pointing out when it's stupid. And this season just overall bothers me in a lot of ways. The thing is, this season feels like it should have just come out before Rebels. And yes, I know, it couldn't have. It's not the way things panned out, and I accept that.
See, this is where he should have stopped talking, but he didn't. He just kept talking about how this should have come out before Rebels and how that chronology just ruined his experience. And it gets annoying after a few minutes. Just watch how long he talks about it.
But it does affect how I perceive this season. If this season came out right after season 5 way back in the day, this finale would have been 100 times better. But now, with it being released today, the last episode exists just to set up Rebels.
This episode does not set up Rebels in any way, shape, or form. We don't know how Maul goes from escaping in episode 12 to becoming head of Crimson Dawn again in Solo. We don't know how Ahsoka becomes fulcrum for the Rebel Alliance, and we don't know how Rex meets with Wolf and Gregor and how they remove their chips. It really disappoints me that this episode was only 24 minutes long compared to the 29-minute long episode 9, and they didn't show any of this. I'm sure Star Wars fans don't mind a well-constructed 40-minute episode, as long as it answers all of our burning questions. And it's not like they're setting up any future shows where they would explore this, because this is too small of a gap to make an entire show on. So it just leaves the fans wondering why and how Ahsoka and Rex get to their respective places in Rebels.
And as I stated before, the stakes are reduced because of what happens in Rebels. And as many of you know, I don't like Rebels. So when I'm reminded that it exists, I admit it ruins my fun a little bit. I'm aware that this is mostly a personal issue, but it is really distracting. Back when I watched Clone Wars, Rebels wasn't a thing. I could watch it uninhibited. And you can't do that with this season. And I'm aware that all these episodes were planned a long time ago, which makes it even more annoying that the ending of the season and the series as a whole has basically been spoiled by other forms of media. It leads to this whole season feeling pretty predictable.
Alright, we get it. Rebels ruined your life. Get over it. Imagine hating a show this much to the point where you're talking about another show and the show that you hate still ruins it. And how can you call this predictable? There's no way you could have known that Jesse would have hunted Ahsoka or that Rex would have turned on Ahsoka for a brief second. I honestly don't understand. It's so much hatred towards Rebels when Rebels actually wrapped up the Clone Wars stuff pretty nicely. Ahsoka got her good Vader scene in, Rex got to do some more action. It was all pretty good. So the fact that you keep complaining about Rebels ruining Clone Wars, it just doesn't make sense.
There were very few moments in this season where I didn't know what was going to happen next. This is the first season finale that I can say that about in a long time. Once the last episode began, I realized that Ahsoka can't really interact with Anakin or Obi-Wan without messing up the events of Revenge of the Sith, so that means she's just gonna stay on the ship for the whole episode. Again, when you realize stuff like this, it kinda ruins the fun. But I do think part of that is also due to the fact that the other two arcs just aren't even on the same level at all. I have said many times before that I think less is more. I say that shit more than I say anything in any of my videos. If this season was just 4 episodes, nobody would have complained. There is not a single element from the first 8 episodes that changes my perspective on the last 4. They hardly matter.
While I do agree that they hardly matter, I really did like seeing the fact that Ahsoka and Rex were both more solid characters in the final arc, and I guess that also made their bond very inseparable. Ironic because they do get separated for 15 years.
I would have much more appreciated if this season just got to the point right away. I would have really preferred just to be given 4 really good episodes and nothing else, as opposed to the 8 whatever episodes and then an amazing arc afterwards. The first 8 episodes in this season did not leave an impact on me at all, and that's contrasted with the last 4 episodes, which are some of my favorite Star Wars things I've ever seen. So if I was reviewing this season as a whole, I could not in good faith give it a great overall score. So for once, I'm gonna be fair and score each arc individually. First off, the Bad Batch arc gets a 6 out of 10. These episodes are fine. To me, this is your average Clone Wars arc. As I said though, I was disappointed that Echo's purpose in the group falls flat in the last episode.
Well, the original schematics for this arc was literally 3 cheers for the Bad Batch. That would have been abysmal to see on screen, not to mention very corny. I'm actually glad that Echo joins the Bad Batch because he honestly fits in with them. The Bad Batch are considered like freaks, and Echo is now a freak. He's been mutilated by the Separatists. So I appreciate that connection.
They act like he's gonna like turn evil or cause some kind of trouble, but then it's never addressed again and it just existed to tease us. I think that's pretty dumb. That's really lame writing.
I also noticed that too, and I personally didn't like it either. However, I'm not going to be as harsh as you were. I'd give this arc an 8 out of 10. Because it did have what I wanted most in the Clone Wars, which was Anakin's little dark side moments. Also, they handled Echo's rebirth properly, and that's definitely worth some points.
Next up, the Martez sisters arc gets a 3 out of 10. I cannot state how much I did not enjoy these episodes. At no point was I enjoying myself. The sisters are both really annoying, the plot is so roundabout and poorly paced, and maybe I'm being too hard on it, but I really just did not like these episodes. I was just so bored while watching them, I have no desire to go back and watch them again. The whole arc would have just fit into 2 episodes, and the fact that they dragged it out to 4 just makes me hate it more. And finally, the last arc gets an 8 out of 10. This would have seriously been a 9 if these episodes came out when they were meant to.
So what do you want them to do? Go back in time and fix this? You shouldn't be knocking off points just because it doesn't fit your chronology. You should be knocking off points for things you didn't like in the episodes. I give this an 8 out of 10, but I have my reasons for it. I didn't like the fact that this episode felt more like a part 3.5 rather than a part 4. Also, the Vader cameo at the end was very unnecessary because he didn't even say anything. He could have said something like Ahsoka. Either way, the cameo was very unnecessary. It just felt like the writers wanted to include him somehow, but that was not the way to do it.
If the show hadn't gotten canceled all those years ago, it would have been the perfect finale. When Ahsoka and Rex are just barely escaping the wreckage in the last episode, I was really excited up until I realized, oh wait, no, they're gonna be okay. I forgot that they're just gonna make it out of this alive with no problems.
Neither one of them walked away from this just fine. They definitely had a lot of psychological damage like PTSD from this event, not to mention that Ahsoka leaves her lightsabers behind here and she's forced to make new ones. Rex is also forced into living in isolation with Wolf and Gregor.
It would have been so cool to see Rex, Ahsoka, and Maul return in future installments, even if I don't like the show that they return in. But my dream for this show was for it to end with Revenge of the Sith, and they gave me that. I could definitely see myself watching these episodes again, and I'm not someone who rewatches things unless I really like them. So yeah, I guess that's it.
So yeah, that's it. I guess I'm also done here. I don't understand how you can post a video like this and expect people to just agree with you on everything. Don't get me wrong, I understand this is his personal opinion, but sometimes he's been blaming the show for things that they can't control, like Rebels coming before this. Dave Filoni did not cancel his show purposefully. He was forced to cancel it by Disney. It's honestly a shame that such a big YouTuber with such a great mind to critique movies can be making mistakes like this. If you made it this far into the video, I'd like to personally thank you for watching. Please leave your opinion in the comment below. I'll try to respond to as many as I can. I don't know if I'll be making another one of these. Maybe if he does this again, I'll definitely be here to set him straight, I guess. Well, just thanks for watching, and subscribe if you liked the video. No pressure.